Birchmere. Hey, is this awesome tonight? This has been a great crowd. You guys having a good time? It is so good to be in Virginia and doing this. So listen, when I started teaching, I wanted to be like that teacher that could make a difference for my students. You know, that the students understand how much you care about them. I wanted to be that guy from Stand and Deliver, but I was just so bad at it. I was so terrible. You know, like new teachers, we're all just really terrible. We're just these little newborn baby teachers, just no control over the things in our lives and cry a lot. And my principal would always give me this huge just class full of boys, just give them to Pittman, because I'm the male teacher, no consideration for that. I'm also the dumbest idiot newborn baby teacher in the school. And so I had no hope of getting control of these children. So here's what I came up with. I told them, if you guys could just behave for a week, I'll take you to the zoo. And it kind of worked. So I kind of held it over their heads all year. It was the only strategy that I had at classroom management. This is what we call it in the education business, classroom management. So I hold out until June to take my students to the zoo. But what I didn't understand was that in June, the school won't pay for you to go to the zoo anymore. They've already spent all the zoo field trip money on that sawdust that we use for cleaning up kid vomit. There's no money left for field trips to the zoo. And I have to get these kids to the zoo because Stand and Deliver would get those kids to the zoo. And I love my students, and I'm also very afraid of them. I have a child, Brian, who would sit in my classroom and just wildly, right in the middle of class, have these conversations between his thumbs, who spoke their own little thumb language. They was me, 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 me. And I was pretty sure that those thumbs were talking about me. There was another time I'm sitting in the classroom and I'm repairing some of the quality public school grade wiring from our whiteboard. So I'm laying on the ground and I'm fixing the wiring, and this child comes over to me and he's running over and he has something to tell me that just can't wait until I'm upright again. And he's a child, so of course he has a just face full of snot. Every facial feature is snot, and he's standing over me and he's telling me his thing. And the snot drips from his nose into my nose. There's nothing that lets you know that you are not the boss of this place like having to blow someone else's snot out of your nose. We had another day, the teacher across the hall is trying to open the window and cuts her hand on one of our high-quality public school grade windows and comes running out of the class, and there's blood. When the children in my classroom discovered the blood, they started finger painting in it. A little sun and a little house. So that sends a pretty strong message to the teacher, that they're willing to finger paint in your blood. So I have to get these children to the zoo. And I have no way to get them there. So now I'm going to have to call in the parents. And I do not want to have to deal with the parents because I have the artifacts of their parenting in my classroom, talking to their thumbs and finger painting in teacher blood. So I put out the call for parent chaperones. The parent chaperones are going to drive us to the metro. We're going to take the metro to the zoo. And of course, Thumbs' mother shows up. Snotty's grandmother with her walker shows up. Mrs. Martinez shows up, who only speaks Spanish, and I'm an idiot, so I can't communicate with her at all. And Dad we've never seen before. shows up, who I've never seen in my life. Absent dad shows up. His son, unfortunately, has never seen him either. And so they drive us to the metro, and we get to the metro station, and I buy the adult parent chaperones metro tickets. Mrs. Martinez, like a responsible adult, gets out $10 to pay me back for the metro ticket that I have purchased to us. Unfortunately, she hands it to Thumbs' mother, Mrs. Hannigan, asking her to pass the money over to me. Mrs. Hannigan takes the $10 and puts it in her pocket. We get to the zoo, and I take my students off in one direction. Mrs. Martinez has her students get out paper and pencil and start taking notes. I hadn't even thought of that. Absent dad, of course, runs his group straight to the monkey house with poor old Snotty's grandmother in tow. And Thumbs' mother, Mrs. Hannigan, takes her children 20 feet from the entrance to the zoo, sits down in front of the ice cream vending machine, announces to the 3 children that I have conservatively put in her group that it is too hot today to walk around the zoo, sits down and eats an ice cream and refuses to buy the children any. What's worse, I know she has an extra $10 in her pocket. So she tells her children, just go off to the zoo on their own. I find out that this has taken place when I was summoned by the zoo staff to the zoo petting zoo, where I have been called to claim 3 boys who have been riding on the backs of the goats. But I felt really bad, and I do. I love my students, and I felt like I should have put them in my group to begin with. These children have eaten all of the soap in my classroom soap dispenser. You know, like wanting to go for a ride on like a magical double unicorn miniature pony was the most normal and well-behaved thing they had done this year. So I think I'll fix this. I'll take the kids in my group. We'll go around and see the rest of the zoo. But I did not do a good job with this. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that's the most important when you're a teacher taking your kids to the zoo is not the number and quality of animals that they see. It is simply returning to the school with the same number of uninjured children you started with. We leave the zoo and we get on the metro, and the metro doors close, and Mrs. Hannigan says to me, Mr. Pittman, I don't know if I have all the children in my group. Just like that, I don't know. I say, Mrs. Hannigan, will you please count to 3 and tell me that we are not missing a child? When she stops at 2, I realize we have left a child at the zoo, and of course it's Thumbs. She left her own child. And I actually felt bad, I felt like it was my fault for leaving the kids under her care for a few minutes. So I get the whole class off the metro, I run back to retrieve the child. But listen, despite stealing money from the teacher, refusing to take the children to see any animals, and losing a child, she was not the worst of my parents' chaperoning problems that day. Absent dad has come off with us to the monkey house, and of course, kid hadn't seen him before. He wants to put on a show for the kid. He wants to show him what a cool dad he has. So he's up at the monkey house, goes right up to the monkey, goes, hey monkey, hey throw some poo in us, hey throw some shit, monkey. Hey monkey, hey Mr. Pippin, come over here, Mr. Pippin. Hey monkey, throw some shit in Mr. Pittman. Ah, monkey. Here's the thing. If you're gonna raise a ruckus at the monkey house and carry on and swear, make sure that you don't already have outstanding warrants. Absent dad was escorted out of the monkey house, which made him upset because he didn't want his son to see that. when he got to the exit of the zoo, DC police was waiting, and he was arrested at the zoo that day. Unfortunately, he insisted to DC police that he be able to take his son with him. DC police left the son to walk home that night by himself. I was with his mother until that evening trying to find this kid, and I realized, walking around and worrying about him and realizing what this job is, what teaching is, that my teachers really did need, my students really did need a good teacher. They needed someone who was more than just a movie character or wiping their noses, that this is a really tough job, and that I needed to stop being that newborn idiot teacher and really grow up. And I've never spent so much blood, sweat, and tears to do something in my life as I did for teaching. And I want to say real quick, there are 2 tables right here of some of the greatest teachers anywhere. These guys are a hell of a lot better than I ever was. If you get a chance, tell them thank you. Buy them a drink after the show or write them a check or something. Thank you very much, everybody. That's my time. Thank you so much for coming out.